to the Girl Sis Man Podcast.
For the girls we were,
for the sisters we became,
and the women we're becoming.
Today's episode of the Girl Sis Man Podcast is a continuation of our last episode, Think Like a Man. Our friends Henry and Dalan talk all things dating from the male perspective. So join us as we laugh and learn in this episode of the Girl Sis Man Podcast. And if you haven't already, be sure to check out part 1 of this episode. Here we go. And when we talk about like progressivism in regards to relationships, do you feel like you guys would be comfortable, with these fluctuating gender roles? Like, would you guys be comfortable, for example, being stay-at-home husbands or stay-at-home dads, etc.? Like, what does that look like now? Because we're kind of getting to that place where like it's happening more often than it was in the past. Lola's like the taste.
I'm sorry, I didn't know. I'm sorry.
Husbands. Ugh.
I'm too facial. I apologize.
So would you guys be comfortable with that? Like if you had a woman who was like, I'm trying to work, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to make that money and I would prefer you be at home. Like how does that make y'all feel?
So I feel like if she had a job that she truly loved and her job did bring in enough income for us all to live comfortably, maybe I think about it, but I like to have my own source of income because I don't want to feel like I'm dependent. I don't want to ask her like, hey, can you I don't know, buy me a game for my PlayStation or something. Like, I don't know. Can I get a few dollars
for a haircut and $5 for a tip?
Let me hold a few dollars so I can get a haircut. Yeah, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that, which is the only reason why I feel like I wouldn't be okay with that role.
Henry?
I feel like I guess I'd be open to the concept. It's not like I'm not against it, right? But I could work. Well, so like, why shouldn't I work? The kids must be taken care of if there are kids or whatever. If like, there's no reason to not work if there's no kids, right? I feel like that's the only reason why you stay home. So if you got kids, I don't want someone else to take care of my kids, like a nanny or something like that. So if we can't get like grandma or somebody to take care of the kids when we're at work, then we consider it. Who I guess then becomes like who makes more money, or can we like alternate time off or something like that? But like if she's making 20 million a year, and
I'd be at home cooking.
yeah. I'm gonna have the shower ready when you come home. I'll dry you a hot bath, whatever you want. The kids are tucked in. Yeah. Then it's a practical thing. Then it's like, why would you even argue with that? You're just being a fucking moron. I feel like at that point.
See, here's the thing, and maybe because I'm a sexist, you guys can correct me, but listen, if I made more than my husband, but I gave birth to this child, I carried for 9 months, and his dumb ass looks me in the face and says, you know what? I want to stay home. I'm like, yeah, did you carry this child? Did you push it out for 15 hours? Did your genitals get ripped? Were you bleeding for 3 weeks afterwards? I think not. So I could not get behind. I can imagine like if things happen, like if you lost your job and we're in an economic crash, like I'm not going to be a mean person, like go shine some shoes. But like the idea that the conversation is you can work, there's available work, and you still want to stay home, that ain't right. It's not fair to me and to my body that I've done this. I've bared you some children and you want to do this to me. If someone's going to stay home and watch daytime game shows, it is me. And that is period.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand exactly where you're coming from, but similar to what Henry said, I feel like you would have to be dang near rich for me to truly consider it. And you kind of just made it seem like it's a decision that one person makes by themselves, like, all right, I'm gonna stay home. No, it's a conversation that you have together. And
even you bringing it up would infuriate me. Like, you know what I mean? Like the idea that you said you wanted to have a conversation of that sort.
I feel like necessity is important here. Because like for me, I'm not just like gonna decide, I don't want to work anymore. You make enough. Right? It's not like that. But like if like somebody has to stay home. And the question then becomes, who is it going to be? Because we can't get somebody else. We can't get like a grandma or somebody. So it has to be one of the two. Who is it going to be? I feel like then it becomes a numbers question. And even then, I feel like you could do some kind of trading, some kind of swapping, unless the disparity is vast. If the disparity is that great, then it's a no-brainer, right? Then like I said, she's making 20 million and I'm making pity points. and somebody has to stay home, obviously it's going to be me.
Okay. And here's also and this is like legitimately a thing. There are a lot of people that get married nowadays, and as women are becoming more ambitious, like they'll be like, okay, well, I work on the West Coast and the East Coast. Like I actually have bosses who do that. Like Dalan knows this. Like they'll travel. Like we have bosses that come in from New York, then go to California. Like they're in and out, and they have kids, they have like husbands, etc. In regards to having relationships that are just not exactly traditional, do you guys feel like you guys would be comfortable with that? Say, for example, having a wife who's not always home. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe she's on business trips, etc. Maybe she's home, maybe 2-3 days a week. Is that something that you guys can get behind, these kind of very progressive contemporary relationships?
I feel like it's something that I'll try out, but I'm big on like, physical affection. Like I feel like I need the person to be around, sometime. Like, so I mean, if she's going on month business trips or she's going on weekly business trips, I feel like you may be gone a little too much and it may cause a disconnect. So then eventually it may not work out. But it's something I'm certainly willing to try. Maybe I can do it. But like I said, I feel like I'm big on physical affection. You obviously can't give physical affection if you're not there. And a lot of people like to assume when I say physical affection, it means sex. It doesn't necessarily mean sex.
It's holding hands and, picking people's ingrown hairs in their beard line. I've heard so. That's what my cousin's girlfriend loves doing that for him. It's like a thing that they have. And I'm like, I guess if that's your form of intimacy, have at it.
Okay. Henry?
I pretty much agree. It's like physical affection is actually really important. I think it's very interesting to think about, to consider the volume of like touch that people receive specifically in terms of gender, right? Like I think women touch each other not like more often or something, right? Like you might see each other, maybe somebody messes with somebody's hair, something like that. Yeah, sure, you hug, but you don't really get that kind of contact as often with males, right? Even if you encounter someone who you're not as familiar with, like you see your friend from high school, maybe you guys hug. You see a dude friend from high school, maybe you're not gonna hug that guy. I don't know, right? But there's that discrepancy, right? So I think the amount of physical affection that men receive is often lower. And so I think generally they will prioritize it more in relationships. So like similarly for me, like, I don't know, I want to give somebody a scalp massage or something like that, right? Like I want to play with your hair or something. I don't fucking know. And if I can't do that at all ever for like a month or something, that's probably pretty rough. I've done like distance things before. And usually what I try to do is like every other week or something, I'll just pull up, spend like a weekend over there if possible. And if it's not possible, then it's very rough. It's a struggle. So
yeah,
I mean, I'd be open to it. I'd be willing to try it, but I would doubt that it would work. Probably, I probably would not think it was going to work ahead of time.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you just said. And I never thought about it like that. Like as a whole, men probably receive less physical affection than women, both from their women friends and their, male counterparts, like obviously. But yeah, I certainly agree with everything you just said.
I actually didn't think about that either. I'm like, that's a good point. That is, I'll be on top of Lola. Like, you're right.
Yeah, but like it's like I've probably seen you a million times, but we probably never even hugged before. But I never even thought about that until he mentioned it.
Yeah.
And there was a study about how like hugging people can decrease the rate of depression in people. And like there is like a thing about, I don't think that men get more depressed than women. I just feel like because it's not I guess nipped in the bud earlier, it tends to have more severe effects, like higher suicide rates. So like I mean it's kind of cool how it all ties into like physical touch. And like you're right, people might think at first it's just sex, but like it's holding someone's hand or like patting them on the back and all that other stuff. Yeah. So I have another question. It's since we're talking about like being near women and all that stuff, how would you describe how feminine energy makes you feel? Have you guys ever read up the definitions of like masculine and feminine energy before? Masculine energy is described as is like the doing energy. So like fixing, building, resolving, protection, versus like feminine energy is more like comforting, nurturing. It's also more like receiving energy. And then obviously everybody has a mixture of these these energies. Like you can't just be purely masculine or purely feminine. It just men might tend to have more masculine energy. So I was just asking, how would you describe being in the presence of feminine energy? How do you think it makes you feel?
I think that sounds very interesting, and I don't agree with that idea. I actually really dislike that idea that masculine energy is like fixing shit or something. What if somebody just can't fix stuff, right? What if this dude has no hands? All of a sudden he has no masculine energy? Like, come on now, that's crazy. But I will say, being around women, it's like there's an itch in my brain, and being around women will scratch that itch. I like to be in their proximity. I know that I do. It does something, but I don't really know what it is.
Gotcha.
That's very interesting. That's an interesting way to answer that.
I have to be corrected. It says here it's associated with strength and groundedness, not necessarily doing things. So like being more objective and, not when I said doing, like it's very much like from point A to point B. This I don't like this because it makes it seem like you guys are the more reasonable gender, but that's just a description.
And what definition do you have there for feminine energy?
Right now,
think of it as wonderful, all-encompassing, encouraging.
It says feminine energy. Okay, this is a lot. Just give me the characteristics. The characteristics are connection, empathy, nurturing, and emoting. So just like I said, the more comforting versus like masculine is like getting it done, as in like, these are the issues, let's resolve it. Not like, oh, I have 2 hands, let me go build a house. It's more like problem solving.
If you could build a house, you don't understand the point valuation system. You've blown it up. Like you're winning. Please build houses. Please do that.
My love language is active services. I don't know, that sounds selfish, but if I buy a desk from IKEA, best believe I'm waiting for you to fix it and do it.
Ain't no problem.
Can I be
instructions?
I also, and this is, I don't know if this is not masculine or feminine energy. This would be a total random tangent. I was talking to this guy recently, and he was the last person I spoke to because I was like, God, I need a break. Like this dude bored me. Like, you want to know why? And this is gonna sound so terrible. Cause he was like, yo, what are you afraid of? And I was like, yo, to be honest, like, I'm not even capping with you, spiders. Like I have had like full-blown panic attacks, like bugs. Like I was in Spain for a year, and there was a spider when I woke up one morning. I think I told you this story, Lola. There was a spider when I woke up one morning. It was the first thing I saw. This joint was huge. I started screaming so loud, crying so hard that people were running down the apartment building and like knocking on my door, like, what is going on? I couldn't even like try to translate it into Spanish, just like inconsolably crying. I'm calling my father and my brothers who are in the US. And then this young man goes and tells me, I'm also afraid of spiders. Like we would have to hire an exterminator. And I was like, sir, that is not my husband. I was like, God, this is not him. Like, this man, then he goes and tells me how he has a phobia and arachnophobia. And I was like, sir, I was like, there are some phobias I'm not going to accept from you. I was like, that's not the masculine energy I need in my life. I was like, no, like there are some firm gender roles that we got to stick to, and killing bugs is your obligation, bro. Like, what is it?
My God.
No, but I'm sorry. Go ahead with your feminine energy feeling thing.
Oh, no, I was going to say in regards to that, I mean, some people have fears, but other people have fears and they're okay with attacking their fears. So, I mean, let's say if I was afraid of spiders, but you really needed that spider to be killed, I would go in there and kill the spider. Because I'm big on doing things that you're afraid of or doing things that you fear, which is why, like, last year I took the time out to go skydiving. So it's like, I was originally afraid of planes, but like, I was like, okay, like, let's just do it. Let's just go all the way for it. I'm not going to do any indoor skydiving. I'm going to just go right to the real thing. And I just went out and I did it. But you said, how'd I like it?
Yeah.
It was a great feeling. But at one point in time, I thought, I didn't know if I was alive or not because I couldn't feel my limbs. And I couldn't feel any of them. And I just was like, am I supposed to not be able to feel my limbs? And then while we're in the air, he says, I'm going to loosen you up. I said, don't do that. Don't do that. So he literally loosens up the straps because, you know, when he initially pulls the parachute, you need to be strapped into him completely. Like you need to be as tight as possible because it's going to be a lot of force once he pulls the parachute. So while I'm in the air, he starts to loosen me up, and then you just drop down like 4 inches from his body. And I mean, I was perfectly fine with it. It was definitely a great experience, and I would say all of you should go skydiving one day.
Okay, dope.
But if you guys want me to answer the other question, I feel like as far as feminine energy, I would say feminine energy makes me feel wanted, I guess, and in its simplicity, that's the best way to answer it. I feel like without that energy, like, you know, without that compassion, without that feeling that women bring on, I wouldn't feel wanted necessarily. Because, you know, men, they're around, and well, the masculine energy that you guys speak of, you know, it's present, but it's not always as inviting.
Okay. What are men's flowers? Because I was thinking about it. Like with Valentine's Day coming up, all the commercials are like, buy your lady flowers, go to K Jewelers. Like, what are men's flowers? Like, I don't think men just walk around like, I want these gifts. I mean, people were joking about getting like the PlayStation 5 or whatever. Like, homegirl don't got that budget. But like, what would be a cute thing? Like if a woman did for you, you're like, wow, this is the equivalent of giving a woman flowers.
What do they like?
I'm asking you.
No, I mean, well, it depends on the dude. Like, let's say the guy likes video games, right?
Okay.
I bought flowers before. Flowers are not cheap. So if we're being comparative,
listen, I got some from BJ's, $10.
Yeah, I was gonna say it also depends on what time of the year and where you're getting it from.
Okay, all right. I was talking about, you know, some fancy bouquets. Maybe I overpay, but
maybe perhaps I would be a horrible man. I told this to Esther. I said I am so cheap. Women would hate me because like I was asking a friend. She was like, I was asking her how much money she spent on her boyfriend for Christmas. She told me this number, and I'm like, how the hell you spend more than $40 on somebody? She's like, but I love him. I'm like, what does love got to do with your budget? Explain it to me.
Well, you didn't say one of your love languages was gifts, right?
Yeah, she said hers is acts of service.
Yeah, so that's why it doesn't make sense to you. Maybe for her, it's gifts. Not that I give a shit about love languages, but my sisters talk about it, so I guess it's like horoscopes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe. But what are men's flowers then?
Yeah.
What are men's flowers?
I feel like it depends on the dude. If some people like drinking whiskey, if you buy them like a $20 bottle or something that they like or something, maybe something that they've mentioned, they'll be hyped. They'll be like, oh shit, thanks, man. I don't know, right? Like, I don't know. If somebody bought me a game. I remember this. I did not want the game. I did not ask for the game, but they bought it for me. I appreciated that a lot. If somebody bought me a book, I would be so excited. You've no idea. I'll brag about it. So it depends on the person. Most people, I think, lately, you know, don't seem to read. So I can't tell you, buy your man a book. Maybe they won't like that. But I mean, there might be some things that might be a little bit more universal. If they're growing facial hair, I don't know, getting some clippers or some shit. I don't know.
Jamaican castor oil.
Sure.
Help them grow.
Something. But I feel like because it's not as socialized as it is for women, because I don't think every woman is born with an innate affection for diamonds and jewelry. I think it's going to depend heavily on who your man is.
Yeah, so I feel like, well, I'm a really appreciative person. If you can do something very little for me, and I'll say thank you a million times. So I feel like with me, my flowers could be pretty much anything. Like, I definitely like when people take the time to, you know, create something themselves and they don't really have to spend money. Like, there's something in my mind that, like, I really don't like when women try to, like, you know, spend money and buy me like expensive gifts. I'd rather them create something for me, but I don't mind spending money on women. So in the past, I've received, you know, like little books like that the women have created, or like drawings. I guess I've dated some, you know, creative women, and I like things like that. Or you can do something as simple as, you know, you can make me some food and just bring me the food or something, like, without me asking.
I know that was gonna come out. I thought
yeah,
was gonna say it.
I feel like it's a good gift, especially if you didn't ask for it and a woman just makes you some food and she brings it to you. I feel like, you know, I would appreciate that time and that effort that you put into it. And then and it was also random. So I feel like, but with me, I feel like I'm not hard to, you know, make happy. I'm very appreciative. So any little thing you do for me, I'll be perfectly fine with. If you pay attention, the person will eventually reveal like, something that they want. But I'm really big on like, whatever I want, I get myself. So like, let's say if, Henry was talking about buying me a game, like the only game I play is Call of Duty. So if you like go say to yourself like, oh, I'm going to buy him a game. The reason I don't have that game is because I really won't play it. So if you buy me a game, you're probably going to be wasting your time. So you can say to yourself like, oh, he plays the game a lot, I'll buy him a game. But if I don't have that game yet, it's because I'm not.
You don't want it. Yeah.
That's fair.
Anything I want, I buy for myself beforehand. That's why I said it can be something like food or something, creative that you just thought of. I have like maybe 3 books and 2 drawings that people have made for me in the past, and I really appreciate those. Like one is hanging up on my refrigerator. The books are in different places, but.
So I noticed that you brought up food. So do like the traditional requirements of like a woman who cooks clean, does that still matter to you? Like what if this girl can't cook at all? Like I'm talking about like you get ill putting the food in your mouth. Like do those things still matter?
Henry, would you like to go first?
Sure, man. I do not care. Can she cook? No, we'll figure it out. Personally, I don't really get it. I feel like you could learn to cook or something. Can like, if you Google a recipe and you try making that recipe, are you gonna burn the house down? Is that what you mean by they can't cook? Like if they have hands or feet, I feel like they could feasibly cook. It doesn't have to be a gourmet meal or something, but I could cook, right? Like I could make food. She can't make food. Okay, I could make some food. She doesn't have to make the food.
So like the clean house, like that doesn't, because we're from Caribbean households. So yeah. I'm like at a young age, I was cleaning this house like it's gonna shine.
Yeah.
So like
I know all about that.
Yeah, my family is from Africa. This shit too. I could clean my own house too. I prefer to clean my own house. I prefer it. You ever seen the movie Don John?
No.
Okay. All right. It's a good example. There's some dude and he's like a bachelor. He's like the quintessential bachelor. He goes out, goes to clubs, picks up women, comes home, but he lives alone and he cleans his own house. And eventually he starts dating some woman and she tells him she does not want him to clean his house. And he says it's his thing. He was like vacuuming or something. He likes it. I like to clean my own house. My siblings will, call me a fucking liar or something like that, right? Like, you never clean. It's not true. I like to clean my own space. It's just something that I like. I don't need somebody else to do it for me, and I probably would not like it if they tried to do it for me. So I don't think that's required. I don't care about that. It's just not important to me.
Similar to what Henry said, I don't really mind if a woman can't cook. I've dated women who can cook really well, and I've dated women who can't cook that well. But YouTube University is alive and well. So you can always look up something on YouTube and follow those directions and cook something up. If you can't follow directions, that means that's a whole nother issue. Because I can go on YouTube right now and I can whip you up something nice.
Exactly.
Some Chef Emerald, some somebody. But as far as cleaning, I would certainly say, I wouldn't mind if she's not super big on cleaning. I've dated a Dominican girl who like pretty much like my room could be spotless and she'll come in and she'll be like, this is dirty. And I'm like, okay, you guys are on like a whole nother level of cleaning. Like, tell me what's wrong. Like, what's wrong? She like, oh, you gotta, wipe the dust there, do this, do that. And I'm like, okay, like, I understand you guys just have different levels of cleaning. But one thing I feel like I have to clean because a lot of people don't do it correctly, although I hate doing it, is the dishes. A lot of people, they swear they're washing the dishes and you go to look at the dishes and they aren't clean. And I feel like that's a big pet peeve of mine. And I'll just look at the dishes like, really? Like, it's a whole chunk of ketchup here. You can still see a ring of orange juice on the bottom of the cup. And I wash dishes. I take my time. It can be a sink full of dishes and it'll take me a while because I make sure they are clean because it's a big pet peeve of mine.
My mom whooped my ass because I didn't clean the dishes in order. Because like, you're not supposed, like one time, I don't know why, she waited for me to do it. This is the worst part about parenting. Like, they don't stop you before you're doing the wrong thing. They're like, I'm gonna watch you mess up and then beat you for it. I had washed the pot that she made the chicken first, before like the cups and all this other stuff. So she was like,
oh, the grease.
The grease. But I was like 10. I was trying to get out of it quick. I'm like, oh, if I get rid of this first, then I could. And she watched me do it and waited till the end to whoop my ass.
That's
like,
lethal.
And I was like, why would you do this? Why couldn't you just stop me and help me?
Mistakes.
Did she make you rewash them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think she was gonna look me
For when it comes to like requirements, and women tend to have, I feel like, more than men, because we're like, we want someone with a degree, we want someone who's making at least this much, we want this, that, and the third thing. Are those things that you guys consider as well?
Yeah, certainly to an extent. Not as much as women do, but certainly to an extent. My big thing is, I just want someone who's ambitious. You gotta always have ambition and be working towards something. If you're working at McDonald's right now, I'm not necessarily saying you're out of the picture, but you can't be comfortable with working at McDonald's for the rest of your life. But I do also like to be happy for everyone. Like, if you're happy for yourself, I'm also happy for you. But that happiness, if you just got a job at McDonald's, that should run out soon. Like, and eventually it's time to move on and start figuring out what you're going to do next. So, I do have certain requirements and stipulations when searching for a partner, but they aren't as high as what women would say. Like, I'm not going to say, oh, my partner needs to make $90,000 a year or anything like that, and she got to do this, she got to do that. It's more so like I go with the flow.
But do you understand why they might be saying that? I feel like
because why? Because you're looking for a lifetime partner.
It's not just because like, oh, these are the requirements to be my lifetime partner. That's why I was shaking my head. It's not just because I'm like, so this is a metric to be my husband. It's like, eventually I want to have some kids, and like, let's just be honest, if I get pregnant, there's going to be a point in time because physically I'm not going to be able to work. How it just makes no, like, I feel like maybe this is me generalizing. Men here are like, oh, she just wants money and like the accolades, and it looks nice, and it's like, it's also about being comfortable. Like, people are struggling out here. Diapers are expensive. Sending your kids to baseball is expensive. Kids are just expensive. So like, let's just be honest, being the woman, it just knocks you out of the playing game for a little bit. I was watching a documentary about how the pay gap has changed because women are matriculating more. So like, all of us are probably at the same playing field economically speaking, but there gets to be a point when women get married around their late 20s, early 30s, they have kids, and then you see the dip exponentially because they have kids, they can't work as much, they got to go part-time. So it's not like, oh, I just want money and I want to be laid up with like chinchilla fur. It's like, it gets to be a point where we need the men. We need our husbands to lead that way.
Well, to clear things up, when I said lifetime partner, that's what I meant, husband and father. I wasn't just saying like, we gonna be booed up for life. No ring, no marriage, no nothing. I mean husband and father.
I got that from you too. But Henry, go ahead.
I feel like I pretty much agree. Do I have requirements? They're not like specific. I don't think like they need a 4-year degree. It has to have been in a STEM field or something like that.
Yeah.
It's more like general thing, like personally, some level of intelligence. Like, there's got to be something between your ears, and you got to be able to demonstrate that. I don't know. Another thing is just like, very simply, some kind of goal. He said ambition, and like, I agree with that. I don't really care what it is. You do not need to have to want to go to school or some shit like that. Like, to keep with the McDonald's example, you work at McDonald's for now, and that's cool. Do you want to work at McDonald's for the rest of your life? Why? Like, it's all right if you want to. You just explain that to me more. Like, do you mean that you're gonna end up making like 6 figures at McDonald's because you're gonna go from being like the person mopping to, I don't know, maybe you're doing fries, then you're a manager, then you're a general manager, and then you're like an owner or some shit? Is that what you mean when you say you want to work at McDonald's the rest of your life? Like, I don't fucking know. Where are you gonna go with that? But like, I'm also not cool with you like mopping the McDonald's floor, specifically McDonald's floor, minimum wage for the rest of your life. You got to want to go somewhere.
Okay, so here's a question, because this is what me and Lola were actually debating about a little while ago. And oftentimes you hear the term that men are very physical creatures, right? Like they see what, they're very like, whereas women are like, okay, we'll get to know your personality. We don't necessarily, we'll do that. So do you think that you could grow to love someone that you are not as physically attracted to as previous? Go ahead, Lola.
No, I'm reading after you. I'm just saying, I need to preface that.
So say, for example, this woman to you is maybe like a 5, a solid average. She not oogle, you know what I'm saying? She just normal. You just not, but she's not someone you would stop in the street. She's not necessarily someone that you would have approached. But now you're here, she has a splendid personality. Is that something that y'all are willing to dip into, the personality box? Or does she have to meet a certain level of attraction for you physically to be like, all right? And Lola will preface.
I want to be clear. There are men who find 5s and like, oh, she's cute to me. That is not what we're speaking of. You look at this woman and you're like, you're just like, no, like physically, just no.
She's not.
And we're not talking about like, oh, when she does herself up with her makeup, she's cute. And like in a certain angle, you just don't find this woman attractive physically. Could this woman warm up your heart with all the cupcakes and buying you books and listening to you and being a great person, but you do not find her physically attractive? On paper, she's compatible with you. She would uphold the same morals and ethics that you would. She respects you and she likes you and she's willing to do the work, but you don't find her physically attractive. Is that non-biased, y'all? Is that good enough?
Yeah, so as far as, the way you formulated the question originally, I would definitely say no. And of course, physical attraction is something that can't be ignored. But what I can say is, for me to answer the question and for the scenario to actually happen are two different things. So when answering a question, I would probably say no, but I do feel like it's possible to, be around someone and you're vibing so well that somehow it just happens. Because I know in the past I've grown to like people, but when answering the question, I'll probably just say nah.
Romantically, you've been around women that you did not find attractive romantically, and she grew on you, and then you started liking her romantically.
Yes, but right now I'm talking about my kid days, like when I was younger. Since I've been older, I would say that hasn't really happened. But yes, when I was younger, there were women like who were maybe like, my friends or something that I didn't necessarily find as attractive at all. And then eventually, I don't know, we just vibe so much, or I believe it's something called liking reciprocity, if I'm not mistaken. That's a term, where someone likes you, so you like them because they like you. And you just vibing so well that
in your head, Esther, that's what you would want, a man to like you.
No, but that's a real thing. That and the mere exposure effect, liking reciprocity and the mere exposure effect is essentially when someone likes you and you end up liking them back because they like you. Or the mere exposure effect is when you haven't found someone attractive on initial contact, but after being exposed to them daily, like it's a coworker or something, you're like, yo, this person is not ugly. Like this, I could rock with this. I could make this work.
But like I said, when this happened, I'm speaking like high school days, middle school days, which was a really, really long time ago. Since I've been older, that hasn't happened to me. But I'm saying I think it may still be possible. I just haven't had that sort of situation happen to me. But when answering the question in the actual scenario, it's different.
I could answer, I guess, both versions of the question. One where I guess I find the person like horribly unattractive, like astoundingly unattractive. I think that was what Lola was really going for.
Yeah, she made it seem like the girl's an ogre. Like she's just a whole ogre.
Okay. I'm not saying
like
you're
ogre.
No, I'm not saying that you look at you and you're like, ugh. It's just like, you're like, oh, okay. Like you would walk past her. Like if she rolled up on her, like that girl, like you would be like, oh, that's okay. I'm not giving you my number. That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
It's a lot of people I walk past.
Here, I think physical attraction is important, obviously.
Correct.
But attraction goes beyond the physical. So like if I found someone physically repulsive, because this has happened, right? I have looked at someone and been repulsed by them, right? I'm not going to opt into a relationship. I'm probably going to endeavor to avoid this person, right? However, if there's someone who I'm not specifically attracted to, I'm not like, oh, but like I guess I find them unattractive, or at least I'm not attracted to them, then it is entirely possible that something could happen. I think a lot of this stuff, I will not get into the big terminology or anything like that. Right? I'm not qualified, frankly, but I think a lot of these things are the result of proximity. Can I be attracted to someone regardless of their physicality? Right? Yes. All of these things. Am I a sack of flesh or am I a brain stuck in the flesh? Right? Like, is this all me or am I just in here and I pilot this thing? Right? In the end, I could be attracted to someone without ever having seen them, and then maybe if I was disgusted or something by them when I eventually saw them, it could lessen that attraction in some capacity, right? But the fact remained, I was attracted to them regardless of what they look like. That shit has happened to me already. So not that I saw someone and was repulsed, but that I had been attracted to someone who I had not seen. So like, yeah, that it can happen. Sure. It's when I opt into it, it's not something it's not like a realistic scenario. Most of the time, I think the reason why Dalan mentioned that this shit happened to him more like when he was in middle school or high school, I think a lot of that is because you are forced into proximity with people when you were younger. When you are older, you're not forced into proximity with anyone that you don't work with. So except for when you're going to work or maybe like class, all your time is your own. So why would you hang out with this person who you are not even attracted to, right? So I feel like that's really what happens. So if I ended up in a situation where I was consistently seeing someone who I had not initially been attracted to, who I had been, who I did not find physically attractive, could I grow to experience some attraction? Yeah, absolutely. I just think that is unlikely.
Okay. And then that's what I said, Esther, that it's unlikely. I said, listen, I don't know, maybe I'm vain, but let me fall in love with a man who tells me, at first when I looked at you, you were like, you were a little wonky looking to me, but your soul power, it really I would be like, I guess it's possible. I just don't think it's very likely. I don't think that happens very often.
I think that's a fair way to answer the question.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not very likely, but possible.
This came up because I watched Married at First Sight. So the guy gets up there, they get married, they've never seen each other. And right off the bat, he goes like, I'm not physically attracted to her. Like, I don't think she's cute. But on paper, she matches up. This man proceeds to have sex with his wife on the first night after he's told everybody else that he's not attracted to her, has sex with her in the night, and then he has sex with her in the morning, and then comes back saying, I'm not attracted to you. I thought if I did it, that I would. So I'm just sitting here like, if you were never attracted to the person, how do you find those feelings? Like, how do you change your brain to find that person attractive? And I'm not just talking about like your soul. Like, how do you kiss people you don't find physically attractive? That's what I'm trying to...
Close your eyes.
Yeah, you just do it.
Close your eyes.
How do you touch something that
told me these things in a relationship,
nasty?
I would crawl into a hole. Just crawl into a hole. Like,
honestly, for me, maybe this just might be a woman thing. I'm not kissing you if not attractive. And I'm gonna let you know straight up, player. I'm like, oh, you got a little close there. Be careful now. But okay, so to close out, and we really appreciate you guys giving your time and being honest and transparent with us today. But here's two things to close out that I would really like y'all to shine some light on. One, what are absolute
deal breakers?
Your deal breakers. What are your deal breakers in regards to dating? And then two, what advice would you give to women who are dating in regards to approaching men, or just, I don't know.
I'm gonna need a little time to formulate a great answer for you on that one.
I can give you a couple off the top of my head. I could think of more if I thought about it longer, but one thing that I've always liked is very open communication. This is something I think is very interesting. When I date, I am very forthright. I am very open and honest. So I will tell you ahead of time how I am going to behave generally. Like, if you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you the truth. Be careful what you ask me, right? So...
you out here hurting feelings, is that what you're saying? You hurt people's feelings?
I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. There's always a good way and a bad way of saying something, right? But like, I'm not gonna lie to you. In that movie, Baby Boy, I use a lot of movies analogy. You know how he talks about how he's like, I care about your feelings, that's why I lie to you. Because I care.
The famous line. Yep.
Yeah. Listen, no, I'm still gonna tell you the truth. I might just try to doll it up a little bit, but I'm still gonna tell you the truth at the end of the day. So when women, I guess, are unwilling to say something openly or initially, kills me. Like, there's this stereotypical thing where, somebody's like, oh, what's wrong? They say nothing, but there is something wrong and they just don't want to say it, or they feel like you should know. fuck that. That's ridiculous. We're all grown here. You guys say it. Say whatever it is. All right. If I don't like that you made me runny eggs, I'm going to tell you I don't like that you made me runny eggs.
Whoa.
I had a problem with runny eggs. I said I didn't like runny eggs, right? So it's just like it's not important. It's totally inconsequential. But I said I didn't like runny eggs, right? So you got to be willing to say these things, right? That's it. Just be willing to communicate these things. And if somebody takes it upon themselves, I don't know, it's not hard to say it, but if someone's like, what's wrong? What's the problem here? You got to make the effort to talk. This goes for both sides. I just think it's worth saying to women as well. And then I guess a deal breaker for me would be someone lacking in personality. People need to be their own complete person as an individual, right? So I guess the relationship should not be your definition. So if I say, what do you like? And they say, whatever you like. That's a no for me, dog. Damn, look at the time. I'm going to have to go home. Don't follow me. That's a deal breaker for me, and a little bit of advice.
Yeah, Henry, I think you did a great job in answering your question. I don't know if my answer can necessarily compete with that. But as far as deal breakers, I think a big deal breaker for me is, lack of effort. That's definitely a thing. I feel like a lot of times I've been put in situations, where the female feels like she doesn't have to put in as much effort as the man, because, men are supposed to naturally be the hunters. Like you explained earlier, and we're supposed to go out and get the women. A lot of women feel as if we also should be, the ones putting in the most effort, and they tend to lack. Well, at least in my experience. So as far as a lot of women, and I guess men probably do the same thing. A lot of people like to act like they don't have time. And I feel like there's way too much time available in the day for you to act like you don't have time. Like if I say, like, let's hang out, and you're one of those people like, yeah, well, maybe in 3 weeks or something, or in 2 weeks we can hang out. A hangout session can be an hour. It can be 2 hours. Anything is better than nothing. And a lot of people like to feel like they they have no time. And to me, it really doesn't make sense. I explained to them, I have a friend who's a doctor. He works he works 10-hour shifts a day, 12-hour shifts a day, 6 days a week. He does things like that, but yeah, he still finds time to, communicate. A text message takes a few seconds. He still finds time to communicate. He still finds time to play the game with us. He still finds time to, do normal human interactions. So for a woman to act like she doesn't have time, like, sis, if you don't want me, just say that. Don't act like you don't have the time to, hang out or do things like that. And also, as far as advice, I would say, I guess maybe this is my love language. Physical touch is definitely a big thing. And we were talking about physical touch and earlier a little bit. So I feel like if a girl truly wants you, there should be some sort of physical touch to, just, what I'm saying is I need my girl to be on me a little bit. Because if you're not on me a little bit, then I'm not going to think you want me.
Honestly, though, we really appreciate you guys coming and just shedding some light, giving us a little bit of male perspective on these things. That being said, that is the end of the episode. Thank y'all so much for joining us, and we hope that y'all tune in next time. Bye.
Thank you for having us.
See you.
Hey y'all, we hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Girl Sis Man podcast. Don't forget to share your thoughts with us by leaving a comment on our video, which you can do by subscribing to the Girl Sis Man podcast on YouTube, leaving us a voicemail, which can be done by subscribing to us via anchor.fm, or by following us on Instagram at the GSM Podcast. We'd love to hear your thoughts and what topics you think that we should tackle next. So be sure to subscribe. In the meantime, remember to hang tight, laugh loud, and lean in.